What's going on, guys? Maul here with Fortune, who went 4-1, just like I did at the tournament last night. His only loss was to me in a very tough match, and then I think you just kind of blew out everybody almost, didn't you?
I wouldn't say everyone was a blowout. There was a lot of really stressful thinking because you've got 50 dice that you have to resolve in different orders. But it was definitely a lot of fun.
So what could you possibly be playing that has like 50 dice?
The new Palpatine, of course.
Da, da, da. Who the fuck is that? I'm just playing.
So, Palpatine's Palpatine. You get to put as many upgrades on them as you want, as long as they're abilities. So you end up, most of my games I ended up with 8 or more upgrades on them.
Jesus.
Which was great. And then Watto's the engine to give him that. Generally, I end up with 6 to 8 resources a turn.
Well, that's insane.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, Watto does literally nothing by himself. Palpatine's the big part of the deck. If he dies early, Watto is basically dead weight. But your point is to keep him alive with all the healing and different upgrades in the deck.
But the thing is, it's like with this, like last night, like you were dropping like 3 abilities turn 1, and it was insane. Like it was so fast.
There was not a round where I had less than 4 abilities at the end of turn 1.
And it's like, it's insane because you can't touch Watto. Yeah. Watto's just like, all right, cool, power action.
Yeah. Power action. All right. So went with Obi-Wan's Hut.
Health.
More or less because I'm actually going to be picking my opponent's battlefield most of the time. So that gets me the 2 extra shields on Palpatine, and if they decide to go with mine, then I have the ability to claim every round to get an extra health.
So why did you not choose Salt? Because he's a leader.
Because I wanted the extra health more than I wanted to be able to turn dice.
And so me and you both kind of chose battlefields that help us, only if they're chosen.
Right.
And then that they can punish your opponent.
Yeah, and the other half to that question is, like I was saying, I don't pick my battlefield, I pick my opponent's. So
that makes sense.
Yeah. So that's my character pairing.
Do you think that's a perfect pairing? Like, would you pair him with anybody else?
Not really. I don't think there's anyone else that gives you the engine that you need for Palpatine to work.
So this is essentially the cream of
if you're wanting to go 2-die Palpatine, that's really about it.
If it's 1 die, you like Sentinel Messenger and stuff like that.
Alright, so starting off with my events, we have Truces, brand new art, looks awesome. Just there to get you more upgrades down turn 1. That's really all that it is. Get you the resources that you need.
Facts.
This one's going to be a fun one that nobody expects. I got a 2 of Bamboozle in there. So it's 0 cost, it's soft mitigation that it rerolls a die, and if you can play it early on, then you get to steal another resource from your opponent.
Well, especially with droids running around, like the Grievous and the battle droids, and Fickle, and all kinds of
stuff. Everything that has 2 blanks on it, so that extra resource can be the difference between you playing one of your upgrades that acts as mitigation and just taking damage to the face. And as you'll see, a lot of my mitigation in this deck actually comes from my dice too. So,
how did that play in the tournament yesterday?
I actually only played it once, and it didn't.
And it didn't.
So of all the cards in here, that's probably the only card that didn't perform last night, and it'll probably be the only card that gets swapped out.
Would you play like a Doubt or something over it?
Maybe. I haven't decided what I want to replace it with
it's
yet.
Palp.
Yeah.
All right. But I have a rule against Doubt, so.
Next up is Hidden Motives, 2 of.
Best card.
They're, as Eric was saying in his deck build, they're pretty much auto-included in anything that can play them. We got Electroshocks. Again, pretty much auto-included in anything that can play them.
They didn't have to do my dude K2 like that.
But I mean, yeah, I guess. I guess that's K2.
It's one of the droids that looks like anything.
Beguile, one of the best removals in the game. You're going to constantly have a crap ton of resources, so you're never going to have any problems playing this. I played 2 of these in 1 round. Dude,
I see a lot of people moving away from this card. Why? I mean, I understand because it's a support heavy and you don't have the resources for it, but like, do you agree with that or disagree?
I mean, I agree with the reasoning behind like you not having the resources for it, but it is if your deck makes resources, you need to be playing it. Because I mean, 2 costs to mitigate 3 die. It's pretty good. This one, so that was my kind of mitigation suite. Ended up with Back to Therapy. So you look for these turns 2 and 3, and it's basically an extra 10 health on Palpatine. Oof. They heal 1 damage for each upgrade to a maximum of 5. So by turn 2, you've got 5 upgrades on them, pretty much guaranteed. So you're getting that free fire, that 2 cost for 5 heal. It's basically It's basically a better Rise Again.
Yes. Well, it's a more restricted but better.
Right. Going into the upgrade suite, we've got the Forbidden Lures. I wasn't too excited about this card when it first came out, but actually having it in play, like it slows your deck down, but you're looking to play it turn 1 and just get that extra boost out of it.
Like Force Storm or something.
Exactly. I don't know if it's just the way that I was playing the deck or if Palpatine's surprisingly fast, but I was finding myself claiming more than my opponent was most of the time. And these really slow that down. So I'm not a huge fan of them, but the extra resource cost, just like the Truces, just like the Bamboozles, just comes in huge.
Yeah.
Barterings, again, going on the resource generation. They're there literally just to, 1, get you the resource, and 2, get you the extra card for discarding a reroll, or potentially playing another ability upgrade. And every ability gives Palpatine another health, so these give you resources and health.
And a card.
And a card.
Which is another health.
Palpatine Sabers. Once you get 2 upgrades down, they're free to play. Even if you don't want their die, you can override them later and basically have 4 cost ability down for a net loss of 2. So that's really strong, but you don't have a ton of damage die in this deck. So having these in there to just kind of round out the amount of damage that you can do is great. Once I had both of these down, along with Palpatine's melee die, it's just like you can dish out a good 8 damage without even trying, just with those dice. Force Jump. In there for the extra health and mitigation. This is kind of where the mitigation of my dice starts. They're there to blank as many dice as possible. I don't know if they're super amazing because a lot of dice now are running 0 blanks, both against Eric and Joshua. The vast majority of the time that I would have wanted to resolve this, it would have been on something that didn't have a blank.
Oof.
So
Fist.
They aren't, yeah, Fist for 1. A lot of the droids for 2 on Joshua's deck. But it's useful against more traditional aggro decks like guns or stick decks.
Yeah, like Vader, who's still very prevalent.
And then Force Sphere, it's really great. You get to remove an opponent's die or they have to deal damage to them. So
You're the first person I've seen play this card.
So it's...
Like what was your inspiration in playing this card? Did it just strive for something or did you just see it?
So, like I was saying, most of my mitigation comes from my upgrades. Mm-hmm. This is just another part of that trend. So either I get free damage on your character, or you have to remove a die. So late game, it's going to be a remove a die, because you don't have the health to spend to keep it out there. Early game, it's going to be free 2 damage.
Right, I was saying about like for you putting it in the deck, like what put you on this card specifically as an include?
Well, like I was saying, everything I wanted my mitigation to be built around my upgrades.
Oh, okay, that was just my misunderstanding. Yeah, that makes sense. So as you were just reading, you're like, this does exactly what I wanted to.
Yeah, this does mitigation. I want it. Also,
and it's 2.
This ended up in my deck over Malice because I think Malice sucks.
I think it's very specific, like where that's not.
All right, next up is Sith Teachings. More mitigation. This one's mitigation when you play it. So a lot of the times I actually ended up rolling Palpatine in and then playing upgrades on him later in the round. Mostly because that would allow me to have my mitigation dice out there.
Right.
So I'd roll them in, do whatever I needed to do. My opponent would finally roll in. They'd roll in a blank, and then I'd drop this down and remove their die. So pretty good. And, of course, the extra damage plus the 2 damage if you've removed a die this turn with the amount of dice that I'm removing is so strong.
I agree.
Next up, what I think is one of the MVP cards of the deck is Surusu Mastery. Getting to play it without any care in the world because you've got Watto, remove a die, remove another die, gain shields. And the shields on the die, it's literally just there to make Palpatine live for 50 turns. It'll do it too. It's the amount, I think it was Joshua's game that I played. He had to eat through like 30 plus health on Palpatine because of the shields and mitigation that I was doing.
I'll say this card removed 2 of my Vader's Fist die.
Yep, and that's super. And another really neat note about it is if you have 1 down, they're not unique, but you can only have 1 form on your character. So if you have a die out and I need it removed, I can overwrite this with itself to remove that die.
Oof.
All right, and then the last 4 cards of the deck are
the most important.
These are where all of your damage comes from. We've got Force Wave and Force Storm. So Force Wave obviously gives you a good 5 to 6 damage on your opponent, depending on if they're 2 or 3 wide. And then Force Storm is ridiculous on Palpatine.
Yep.
So Force Storm, if you don't know what it does, every time you resolve that special, you re-roll the die and add a token to it. It deals damage equal to the number of tokens on it. So Palpatine's ability lets him roll it in. If you get a special, you get a damage, roll it back in. Oh, hey, there's the 3 range, deal 4 damage with that die. Now I actually roll it in with Palpatine, and I'm doing another 5-6 damage with it that turn. This card is literally the MVP of the deck, if you can actually get it out and resolved. Because most of the time, people are going to be trying to get rid of it. It's kind of like it's a mitigation magnet.
Thanks.
But that's kind of the deck. Like I was saying, the only thing that would potentially change in here would be the Beguiles, which there are
the Bamboozles.
The Bamboozles, which they're there for a reason, but they just didn't play out last night. Of the 30 cards in my deck, they were the only ones that didn't really do anything.
Well, I say, would you? What's your feeling on at odds going into a deck like this?
It's at odds is a good ad altogether, especially with the dice that's out there. It's just.
And it recycles itself.
Exactly, but this deck spends so much. The big reason that these were in here was because they were 0.
Right.
This deck spends so much on upgrades and other things. Just making sure that you have that one extra resource for at odds is hard to do.
So, question: me, you, and Adam, I think we were talking about it last night. What is your opinion on with us playing 2 tournaments kind of into the meta now, or 1.5, or whatever you want to call it? What is your opinion on reroll cards in comparison to just straight up like mitigation cards that are really cheap, like Sound the Alarm, Bamboozle, in comparison to like Doubt or Hidden Motive or things like that?
So I think that it really just depends on what your deck's meant to do. The 0 cost like reroll die, like Sound the Alarm's there for decks that don't have resources, because there aren't really 0 cost removal anymore. Mm-hmm. All that broken removal rotated out when the new set came out. So if you think that you're going to have a resource or 2 per turn for mitigation, then yeah, play the actual removal cards. But if you're going to be spending all of your money on your upgrades or all of your money on your supports, then you need the cheaper reroll stuff.
Oof. I remember I seen. I think the max I've seen on your character was like 9 upgrades at one point.
I think I made it to 11 in my match against Jesse, I think.
That was on stream, wasn't it?
I'm not sure. There was one of my matches that
round
I made
1
it to
you played
11.
against Jesse.
Yeah, I won round 1. I think it was round 2 or 3.
Oof.
But yeah, 11 is the most that I've had on Palpatine at once.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That man went into a 21 health by himself.
It,
Then you add Watto's 9.
It starts to feel real good when you're like, upgrade, 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 upgrade. Like you have to stack your upgrades because you have so many of them.
And it's kind of crazy.
And then you have to roll Palpatine's die in like 2 handfuls at a time because there's so many.
So, what did you have a scary matchup that was particularly scary for you? I know mine was Mill. I know you were worried about Mill because how fast you go through it. Go through your deck. Was there anything that you think, like moving forward, that this deck like struggles with? You playing a bunch of variety of different decks, and can you give any insight to that?
Really, the only thing that I'm actively worried about is Mill, and I don't know if this deck has an answer to that because it was
Just beat face.
Yeah, it was. So, I think that there are a handful of decks going against Mill that have a 50-50 shot. Either you get your big money upgrades down and you win, or they mill them all before you get them into your hand and you lose.
Yeah.
If I can get these down on Palpatine before they get milled, then I might say that I'd have a chance. And I did win my match against Mill last night, but I only had 4 cards left, so it was a really close one. But if I get no good upgrades down, or all that I get are my mitigation upgrades, like Force Jump or Sorcery Mastery, I mean, I'm just not going to do anything for the whole game. So
in your competitive opinion, where would you put this probably on the tier list as of right now?
I'd probably use it as a gatekeeper deck. So like a tier 1-5. If you can't beat a Watto Palpatine, then I wouldn't consider your deck tier 1.
I agree with that because it's nasty.
Yeah.
But all right, guys, appreciate you joining us, Fortune, giving us this awesome deck profile of Palpatine Watto. We'll catch you next time.
See you then.